Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. Is Labrynth still the best deck in the room? Well, that's what we aim to find out today. Labrynth I've been talking about as being one of the better decks in the current format, given the fact that it was basically untouched on the last Banlist, and a whole bunch of other decks were pretty heavily neutered. Things like Dragon Link were pretty heavily nerfed and stuff like that, and I think it just has a pretty decent matchup against most of the rest of the metagame. Now, with the introduction of Super Heavy Samurai and other such decks, how well does this deck actually perform? Well, that's what we aim to find out. I already said that whole spiel, but the deck hasn't really changed all that much besides introducing Duel and Lockbird. One thing that is great about Labrynth is that there are basically two versions of Labrynth. There's the IKEA Labrynth, focusing on the Stovey Torby and Chandelier and stuff like that, and reutilizing the Welcome and Big Welcome in order to generate advantage that way, and then utilizing hand traps more so to slow down the opponent, with key big board wipe or big interaction traps to really kind of stop the opponent. And then there's the stun version, which isn't as good because it just doesn't do as much. It kind of can't really close out games unless you see the right floodgates. So it's just not really all that great. However, with Super Heavy Samurai basically being able to just absolutely get owned by any floodgate, maybe that version will see more play. However, we're playing the IKEA version because it's more based. And I'm going to do the quick card-by-card and explanation, starting off with the hand traps. We're playing lots of them. We have 2 Droll because it's very good against Super Heavy Samurai. We're playing Triple Maxi. We're playing it 2 Gamma because it's just very strong in any deck that can utilize the fact that you don't have a monster on the field, which this deck absolutely can. You can modulate its the cards on field pretty easily. Then we have the Triple Ash Blossom, a staple, and then Triple Imperm. Lots of hand traps, and it really does help quite a bit. Next up, we have ourselves the Labrynth cards, starting off with 1 Coup Clock, just a good card in general. However, we're only playing 1. I've seen people even play up to 3 copies of this. I'm not too big of a fan of it. I feel like it's better at 1 anyway, because it gives you the ability to, I mean, it's searchable, you don't really need it too often. While it is nice going second, it's also not great going second unless you specifically see like a very, very good hand, such as Lady and Chandelier and a discard and follow up on the following turn and stuff like that. But most of the time, it's not really all that worth it. So I think it's fine. 1 of, searchable, it's good. Anyway, then we're playing the 2 Stovey Torby because we can only play 2. We're playing 3 Chandelier because we can play 3. We're playing 3 Ariana because it's the best normal summon and basically the only normal summon in the deck. There's technically other normal summons, but they don't count. We're playing the 1 Lovely as well as 2 Lady as well. I do actually like 3 Lady occasionally, but I feel like having more hand traps and some other cards tend to be a little bit better. As for the rest of the cards, we are playing 1 Pot of Extrav, 1 Pot of Prosperity, 1 piece of the, 1 Labrynth as well for our, the big welcomes and the welcome, so that we can have additional interaction, potentially bring back a card, etc. We're also playing 2 Called By to deal with Ash Blossom because it is a problematic card for us. We're also playing for our traps. We have 2 traps that are mostly there to be searched, that being Dimensional Barrier and Daruma Karma Cannon, both of which are pretty good. Daruma Karma Cannon basically being a good way to out things like Link monsters, like Apollosa, as well as being able to interact favorably against a lot of decks, and you'll see that as we play. We also have ourselves the 1-Dimensional Barrier to just like hard shutdown branded, hard shutdown any synchro summoning strategies, etc. So there's that. And then we are technically playing Infip as well as a searchable target for the Lady if we're not going for one of these 2. So there's that, but most of the time you're just going to be summoning 1 or grabbing 1 of these. We also have, of course, 2 Welcome Labrynth and Triple Big Welcome, which is pretty standard. You could play 3 Welcome. I think you probably only want to play 2. It's kind of a dead card. Most of the time you don't want to see it in your opening hand. You want to set it off of a Chandelier or Stovey Torby after having already gotten the big welcome or something along those lines, but it's still good. Then, of course, we're playing Floodgates because they're good. We're playing one skill drain and one Gozen Match. Gozen Match is probably the best one out of them. I was also originally playing Rivalry. Rivalry just doesn't seem great right now. It doesn't really hit too much. Like, it kind of hits Branded, but Branded can basically play through either of these floodgates, so it's not really there for Branded. It hinders like nothing else. Like no one else really cares about Rivalry, but a lot of decks care about Gozen Match in particular. Having one attribute right now is pretty strong, or is pretty uncommon, right? Again, Branded can play through that. Not really that big of a deal. But yeah, I feel like Gozen is slightly better. Honestly, you could play both if you wanted to, and just play 41 cards. As for the extra deck, not really that big of a deal. Just need Chaos Angel and the Muckracker, and then the rest of this basically doesn't matter. So let's hop into the replays and show you how this deck performed. Alright, we're starting off going second with Hand Trap the deck. Yeah, we drew technically 3 live hand traps, and we're playing against Branded. They pitched the Fallen of Albaz. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, my opponent absolutely could have won this game. They horribly misplayed, and I'm not going to analyze this, or analyze the Branded play, because we're talking about Labrynth. But I allow this to go through. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Obviously, I'm going to Ash Blossom the Branded Fusion. They have 60 cards. I'm going to hedge my bets that they don't have the Called By, and they can't activate something like Gamma. So I'm like, yeah, Ash Blossom here is fantastic. Okay, cool. So that resolves. They're going to activate the Branded High Spirits. Sure. Reveal Magnemut. Sure. Sending the card to the grave, keeping the Magnemut in hand, activate Magnemut, banishing the Fallen of Albaz. So I'm like, okay, they can't really get anything good off of Albion, so I don't really care about what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, sure. So I let that resolve. They grab the Branded, or they grab the Bestial Saronir. They're also going to grab it to the, or they're going to put onto the field the Branded Beast. I'm like, okay, sure. I don't really have much. And then I draw my combo starter. I'm like, okay, cool. So, very simple thing. Put the Imperm in the Branded Beast column. They're going to hit the Imperm, right? Of course they're going to do that. However, just in case, I also set the Dimensional Barrier over here, because I need Labrynth more so than I need the Big Welcome more so than I need Dimensional Barrier at this moment. So that's kind of the plan. So they're going to tribute, they're going to pop. Of course, it's the Imperm. I'm like, that's great, fantastic. Again, I don't really care. I can chain both of these on the following turn. Not really that big of a deal. They're going to go for the Bestial Saronir, banish, summon, activate the Beast, targeting, of course, the Dimensional Barrier, to the which I will chain, and call Fusion. Which you may say matters here. It kind of does. It kind of doesn't. I mean, to be fair, they obviously would have grabbed the Branded Fusion, and then I would have just ashed it again. So, you know, this is actually probably better for them. Except it's not, because of the fact that Bestial Lubellion now comes onto the field. I just Gamma that, easy peasy lemon squeezy, and then I get to go and activate a Big Welcome and bounce a guy back and actually have a target. Now they actually activate the Nadir Servant because they're locked out of fusions anyway. Why not activate the Nadir Servant? And to that I say no. None of that. Not happening. No Nadir Servants, no searching, no none of that. No. Anyway, now we go for the Big Welcome, and we're going to special summon out the Lovely, and we're going to bounce Driver back to our hand, just as like a discard fodder, so that maybe a Gamma can be alive in the future, and Ghost Ogre. Interesting. Now, to be fair, Ghost Ogre I think is pretty good in the current metagame, but yeah, dealing with the monster on field is pretty bad for us, because now we really need to top deck pretty well. But it's basically top deck wars. I have a Driver in hand, so, well, Welcome is actually pretty decent. It allows us to get Ariana into a rotation, which is pretty good. And my opponent top decks Allure in 60, technically in 50, but of course, why would they not? Yeah, just par for the course. Anyway, they're gonna grab Opening. There's, again, Branded Fusion is already in grave. They don't really have a lot of options. I feel like they probably grabbed the correct option, but had they just not banished Albaz, we would have been absolutely screwed like 7 ways to Sunday. But they did, so oops. Anyway, we're going to go for the Welcome Labrynth, protecting our life points, grabbing up the Ariana. Ariana is going to activate. We're going to grab the Stovey Torby, and then they are going to pass the turn. We know it's in hand, so yeah, we're free to fire the Stovey Torby. And at this point, the game is basically over. We grab a Big Welcome here. We also get to then bounce our Ariana back to hand, special summon out the Stovey Torby, and yeah, this is basically it. At this point, we are well in control of the game, and I top deck a Chandelier just to make things ever so sweet. But yeah, at this point, we can add to our hand like a Coup Clock, we can add the Field Spell, we can add the Lady here as well, which is absolutely crazy. So just like everything is open up to us, and we basically get to put everything into our control, and yeah, good game. All right, and here we are going first with a too great of a hand. I mean, it kind of does stuff, but I basically only get to set the Daruma Karma Cannon and pass. So, yeah, we'll see what we can do off of this. My opponent is going to normal summon the Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer, and that is not great. Now, I do have a couple of options. Obviously, I could have, before they activated this, I could have flipped this card face down and just be like, cool, you don't get to go into the Link monster with this, and then I have, like, access to Ash Blossom. But here's the thing. If they draw Bike, if they draw the Pendulum, Wakaushi, there's a lot of things like that that just allow them to kind of play the game here. So, yeah, it's still scary, and I don't really have any combo starters here, but my opponent decides to activate the Soul Piercer in hand, and now I do just kind of win the game, because we're going to flip the card face down. This card is going to go to the graveyard, not from the field, which means it doesn't get its effect to search, and the card is now flipped face down, and they've used their normal, and we still have Gamma and Ash in hand, and my opponent just concedes. Yeah, Book of Moon. Apparently it's good. Alright. Once again, going first, let's see what this Pot of Extrav can grab us. So we're going to go and activate the Pot of Extrav. We're going to draw 2, which is, I mean, pretty good draws. Ash and Stovitorbi is pretty good, especially with Driver in hand. That's a free discard. We're going to grab up the Coup Clock here. We're then going to activate the Coup Clock. We're then going to go for the... I set a card here to see if they're going to, like, fire off a Maxi or something like that. And as protection for a Lady Labrynth, just in case. Anyway, we're going to go for the Coup Clock, add it back to hand, and then go for the Big Welcome, to which my opponent will activate Shifter. Oof. I was reading something like an Ash Blossom, or more specifically Maxi. I figured it was Maxi, but Shifter really sucks here. It's not too terrible. I do get to rip a card out of the opponent's hand and special summon the Stovitorbi at the very least, and I see Pantera, so it's Vanquish Soul. At the very least, it's not Kashtira. If it was Kashtira, we'd be boned. But, okay. Anyway, my opponent goes for the normal summon Raisin, and of course it's in the lovely Labrynth zone, which means, of course, they have the ability to pop the lady and immediately deal with it. So I could have Ashed, but I'm like, there's a high chance that they have either a dark, and a fire in their hands, so whatever. They go for the Harpy's Feather Duster, that's fine. This card is literally useless in this matchup, so whatever. I'm not even going to activate it. My opponent reveals, yeah, Dark and Fire, of course. Lady is gone, or Lovely is gone again. Okay, they're going to change the battle position as well, which means even if I were to have Ashed the Raisin, it wouldn't have mattered because it has a second one in hand anyway. Well, that's fine. Okay, I'm going to take a bunch of damage here. They decided to not activate the Druid Swarm just to keep the Dark in hand, I guess, but sure, why not? I mean, they didn't have lethal, but whatever. Out comes Rock the Vanquisher, and they're just going to pass. I'm still feeling okay. We have Ash, we have Coup Clock, we have... Oh, fantastic draw. That is a fantastic draw. I'm going to start off here with the Chandelier, pitching the Droll, setting the Big Welcome, and then we're going to activate the Coup Clock to try and special summon, which it resolves. Oh, right, because they can't special summon the Druid Swarm here. But now we got to go for the Big Welcome. I'm going to summon out the Lady here and bounce the Coup Clock. Here we're going to activate the Chandelier, and I was almost certain Druid Swarm was going to banish the Chandelier. They just don't. I don't know why, but whatever. Ariana, normal summon, activate the effect. They're going to activate the effect of the Rock the Vanquisher in order to special summon the Vanquish Soul monster, and like, sure, out comes Raisin into the column of Ariana, because, you know, reasons. I'm going to Ash here. I don't want them to get another attribute, potentially. Like, a Caesar Valius is just, like, terrible for us. Also, it prevents Raisin from actually doing anything. So, I grabbed this Stovitorbi here in order to set the Welcome Labrynth, and I'm just like, cool, I'll just walk over the Xiaolong and then just pass. There's not really anything else I can do. So, cool. We'll just pass the turn. We know the one card in hand. There's a high volume of cards that they could potentially draw that are problematic. But out comes the Xiaolong. They're going to activate the Raisin. I'm like, again, totally fine. Ariana can die. That's whatever. So they're going to pop. And normal summon the Rysart. Not the greatest of draws, but it does get them Borbo. And I'm like, cool. They go to battle. I'm like, cool. That's not going to happen. Go away. And now they decided to Druid Swarm, which is... I mean, it's funny. So, yeah, for sure. Anyway, we now get the Stovitorbi and Chandelier. So Chandelier is going to come back to our hand. Stovitorbi is going to special summon to the field. And now the Druid Swarm contests the Stovitorbi. Not that that matters, because we just send it away and set a Labrynth spell trap, so he sets big welcome. Yeah, this game's over. I activate the welcome Labrynth here, chaining the Lady Labrynth. I know the last card in hand is Xiaolong, I believe, so I just set Imperm, because I'm like, I don't know, it's pretty good against Rock the Vanquisher. We grab the Ariana. Ariana's effect is going to activate. Yeah, they concede, realizing the game is well and truly over. Good game. Alright, we're back with the deck, and honestly, this deck is still very, very strong. Do I think it's better than Super Heavy Samurai? Yes. Why? Because it basically does the same thing if it has the ability to go first. It doesn't lose to things like Droll and Lockbird nearly as much, and, more importantly, it does not care about Max C. So that's also very nice. But other than that, like, yes, Ash Blossom still hurts it, similar to how Droll hurts Super Heavy Samurai, but it also probably can go second even better than Super Heavy Samurai, given the fact that you also have the ability to set traps, or just play as many hand traps as Super Heavy Samurai, while also being able to play things like Imperm and Gamma, which is very nice. And yeah, all in all, I just feel like it's just slightly better in the current metagame. It doesn't really lose to as much, while also being able to win just as decisively as Super Heavy. And while, yes, Super Heavy Samurai is very strong, I do say that, I don't know, Labrynth's probably better. Is it better than Branded? Maybe. Hard to say. Don't really know. I think Branded kind of has fallen off because the Bystials aren't as good right now, because of things like Super Heavy Samurai. But even with that being said, I still feel like Branded's probably the best deck, but who knows? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much appreciated. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.